The human ambassador stood at the control panel of his spaceship, staring at the blinking distress signal that had interrupted his already chaotic diplomatic mission. Peace talks between two warring alien factions were supposed to be his main concern, but the signal from an unknown vessel threatened to derail everything. The faint echo of desperation in the transmission was impossible to ignore. With a sigh, he activated the ship's comm system, sending a signal to the ship's automated systems to change course. "Here we go again," he muttered, leaning back in his chair. The task was simple enough: assess the situation and provide aid. But knowing his luck, he'd end up in another bizarre, cross-species diplomatic debacle. The ship descended toward the barren planet. As the craft touched down, the ambassador stepped out onto the cracked, dusty surface. The wreckage of the alien ship lay ahead, a twisted mess of metal and smoke. The faint whimper of something caught his attention, drawing him to a nearby pile of wreckage. It was a figure, an alien girl, sprawled out in the dust, barely conscious, her frail form almost unrecognizable against the scorched earth. "Hey, are you all right?" he asked, kneeling beside her. Her eyes flickered open for a moment before closing again. He didn't know much about this particular alien species. She was small, with luminous skin, which seemed to shimmer faintly under the pale light of the planet. Her pointed ears twitched, and her long, delicate fingers grasped at the air as if reaching for something she couldn't quite see. "Hey, stay with me," the ambassador said, patting her gently. He unstrapped a pouch from his belt, pulling out a ration pack. He had no idea if it would help her, but it was worth a try. He tore it open and began feeding her the strange, nutrient-packed paste, unsure if the contents would even work for her species. Slowly, she began to stir, her breathing becoming more regular. The ambassador let out a breath of relief. At least she was alive. But as her eyes opened and she blinked up at him, something was off. There was a strange intensity in her gaze. "You have fed me," she said, her voice soft and melodic, but somehow layered with deeper meaning. "But there is more to this nourishment." The ambassador blinked, unsure of what she meant. Yeah. I've got more if you need it." He awkwardly patted his pouch, unsure if this alien even ate in the same way humans did. He'd been briefed on a dozen alien races, but this one? Not so much. The girl sat up slowly, brushing the dirt from her shimmering skin. Her clothes were ragged, barely more than a collection of shredded fabric, and her body language, despite her frailty, suggested a certain grace. She smiled softly, but there was something almost predatory in the way she studied him. "You are a provider, yes?" she asked, her eyes locking onto his. "A provider of sustenance. Of strength." Her gaze lingered a little too long on him, as if trying to gauge more than just his physical appearance. The ambassador felt a knot of unease form in his stomach. "I guess you could say that. I'm a diplomat, actually. I work with different species to keep the peace." He shifted uncomfortably, unsure if that was what she was implying. She nodded slowly, as though deep in thought, before reaching forward with one delicate hand, brushing a lock of his hair from his face. Her fingers were soft, but her touch felt like it had more meaning than a simple gesture of kindness. "You are a provider, yes. And now, you must complete the circle." The ambassador froze. "The circle," he echoed, his mind racing. He had read all the manuals, all the cultural protocols. But this wasn't in any of them. Nothing had prepared him for whatever this alien was suggesting. "Yes," she said, her voice a low whisper. "You will provide. And I will receive." He could feel his face turning red with confusion and mild embarrassment. "Look, I'm just here to help, all right? I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I mean," she interrupted, her eyes suddenly intense, "that you have fed me. But the body needs more. You are the one I need, the one who provides in all ways." The ambassador's brain scrambled for a coherent response. "I'm sorry, what now?" Her lips curled into a sly smile, and her gaze flicked down his body before returning to meet his eyes. "You are a provider. And I require more sustenance. More than just food. Much more." The human ambassador blinked rapidly, trying to make sense of what was happening. "I think there's been a misunderstanding here," he said, his voice unsteady. "I'm just trying to help you get back on your feet, okay? We don't have to." "Not just feet," she murmured. "Not just feet." She stood up, her movements graceful despite the exhaustion that still clung to her. She stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his face. At that moment, the ambassador knew he was in over his head. But how could he make her understand? He wasn't prepared for this sort of negotiation. His whole life had been about managing intergalactic peace, not navigating these cultural differences. He cleared his throat, trying to stay composed. "Listen, I'm here to help you, but not like that. Okay? You are a provider, yes," she repeated, stepping even closer, her voice dropping lower as she added, "Then give me more. More than just food. You are here to nourish me in all ways. All of them." The ambassador was paralyzed by the situation. Her words, innocuous on the surface, carried a weight he wasn't prepared to bear. She wasn't asking for more food. She was asking for something far beyond that, and he was beginning to feel very, very out of his depth. "Look," he said, his voice shaking now, "I'm just trying to get you back to safety, okay? That's it. We don't need to." She reached forward again, pressing her palm gently against his chest, and he could feel the warmth of her skin seeping through the fabric of his suit. "It is not just safety I seek," she said, her voice heavy with meaning. "I seek the balance. I seek to complete the connection." The ambassador swallowed hard, realizing this was going to be much harder than he'd thought. This wasn't just a case of helping an alien in distress. This was something entirely different, and he wasn't sure if he could navigate the waters he'd just been thrown into. She was close now. Too close. And there was no easy way out of this mess. The ambassador could only hope that his diplomatic skills, so finely honed over the years, would somehow work in this, rather unexpected situation. The ambassador's mind raced as he tried to process what was happening. He had been trained for many things, intergalactic treaties, peace negotiations, and even some basic cultural etiquette. But this was something entirely out of his expertise. The alien girl, now standing so close to him that he could feel the heat from her body, seemed intent on pushing him into a corner, both figuratively and, it seemed, literally. Her eyes locked onto his, her gaze unwavering. "You are a provider, yes," she repeated, almost purring the words. The ambassador swallowed, struggling to keep his composure. His diplomatic instincts kicked in, urging him to redirect the conversation, steer it back onto safer ground. I'm here to help," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "That's all I'm doing. You're injured. You need care, not whatever it is you're suggesting." She tilted her head, a smile playing on her lips. "Care," she mused. "Yes, that is one form of sustenance. But there are others. The human body craves many things. Not just food." The ambassador's eyes widened as her words hung in the air. He was pretty sure he had misunderstood her, but the tension in the air and the intensity of her stare suggested otherwise. She wasn't talking about simple human needs, she was talking about something else entirely. Something far more personal. "Look, I'm a diplomat," he said, trying to regain some control of the situation. "I negotiate peace. I'm not here for anything like that." His words were coming out more desperate now, his calm demeanor slowly cracking under the pressure. Her laugh was soft but insistent, an almost musical sound that made him feel even more out of place. "You misunderstand. I am not asking for your diplomacy. I am asking for your strength. Your nature." She took a step closer, her presence overwhelming. "You are the one who provides, are you not? You feed the hungry. You help the lost. You protect the weak." The ambassador, his heart racing, looked down at the ground for a brief moment, trying to gather his thoughts. I'm not what you think I am," he said, shaking his head. "This isn't how it works. I'm just a human, trying to do what's right." She reached forward and gently lifted his chin with one finger, forcing him to meet her eyes once more. "I see you," she said, her voice low and hypnotic. "I see your strength. Your humanity. It calls to me. You are the one who nourishes. And I need nourishment beyond what your kind can offer." The words struck him like a punch to the gut. He opened his mouth to respond, but nothing came out. The alien girl had become more than just a victim he needed to rescue. She was now something else entirely, something dangerous, unpredictable, and utterly foreign. He didn't know how to deal with this. "What do you mean by beyond what your kind can offer?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. She smiled, a small, knowing smile. "I mean that what you offer, what you provide, it is not enough. Not anymore. The body requires more than food. It requires union." He blinked, struggling to understand. The realization started to sink in, and it was almost more than he could bear. Was she talking about sex? Was she seriously suggesting? No, he couldn't believe it. "Union," he repeated, his voice sounding more incredulous than he'd intended. "You mean, mating?" The words slipped out before he could stop them. His face flushed red with the sheer awkwardness of the situation. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stepped back and looked him over, taking in every inch of him as though she were seeing him for the first time. The intensity of her gaze made him feel exposed, vulnerable. "Is that what humans call it? Mating?" She mused aloud, as if the concept was still foreign to her. The ambassador, now desperate to regain some control of the situation, cleared his throat and took a step back. "Listen, this isn't what you think. I'm not some provider. I'm here to help you get back to your people, get you back to safety. That's all. Nothing more." But her smile only widened, and he could see a glint of amusement in her eyes. "You misunderstand," she said softly. "I do not need safety. I need what you can offer. You are strong, yes? You are the one who can provide union. I seek balance. I seek connection." The words sent a shiver down his spine. He had been in some tricky diplomatic situations before, but this was beyond anything he had ever prepared for. What was he supposed to do now? He was a human. He had no clue about alien mating rituals, let alone what kind of connection she was talking about. "Please," he said, his voice almost pleading. "You don't have to do this. Let's just get you somewhere safe, all right? I'll help you. We'll figure this out." She stepped closer again, her body mere inches from his. "I have already figured it out," she whispered, her breath warm against his skin. "And I know what I need. What I want." The ambassador recoiled slightly, his heart pounding in his chest. He had no idea how to react. Part of him wanted to push her away, to keep her at arm's length, but another part of him, something deep inside, something primal, was starting to feel the pull of her words, the weight of her stare. "I can't," he started, but she silenced him with a gentle finger to his lips. "You will," she said, her voice soft but insistent. "You will. Because you are the provider. The one who gives. And I need what you have to offer." She stepped back, her eyes scanning him once more. "I am hungry for more than just food," she said, her words lingering in the air. "And you are the one who will feed me." The ambassador stood frozen, caught in a whirlwind of confusion, tension, and desire. He had no idea how he had gotten here, how he had ended up in this alien girl's orbit, tangled in a mess of misunderstandings and primal instincts he didn't understand. All he knew was that he had to get out. Get away. But no matter how much he tried to distance himself, he knew, deep down, that this wasn't over. Not yet. The tension in the air was palpable as the ambassador tried to regain control of the situation. The alien girl's proximity was overwhelming, her presence both intoxicating and terrifying. He had never been trained for this. His mission was supposed to be about peace, negotiations, treaties, diplomacy. But now, he found himself caught in a much more complicated web, one that was woven from confusion, desire, and miscommunication. He could feel his palms sweating as he shifted uncomfortably, his mind racing for a way out. Look, we don't need to do this, he stammered. I'm not here for anything like that. I'm just trying to get you back to your people. The alien girl tilted her head, her eyes never leaving his face. She looked almost disappointed, as if he had missed something important. I know what you're here for, she said softly. But you still don't understand. I don't need people. I need what you can give me. What you were made to give. It's in your nature, isn't it? The ambassador felt his throat go dry. I don't know what you mean, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. She stepped closer again, so close that he could feel her breath on his skin. You are strong, human. You provide. You nourish. I am here, offering you the chance to complete the cycle. The ambassador's heart was pounding now, his mind desperately trying to cling to some semblance of professionalism. This is wrong, he muttered, his mind reeling. I don't know anything about your customs. I'm not a part of your rituals. I'm just a guy trying to get you back home. She laughed, a soft, melodic sound that didn't help ease his growing panic. Home, she repeated. You think I want to go home? You think that's what I'm asking for? The ambassador was about to respond, but she silenced him with a raised hand. I'm not asking you to take me anywhere. I'm not asking for anything but your connection. The nourishment you carry within you. He took a step back, his eyes wide with disbelief. This isn't right, he repeated, his words losing their conviction. He had never been in a situation where he felt so completely out of his depth. He was trained to mediate wars, to soothe tensions between factions, not to figure out alien mating rituals. And yet, here he was, standing before an alien girl who seemed intent on crossing a line that he wasn't prepared to even acknowledge. The girl's smile never faltered. You don't have to understand, she said, almost tenderly. You just have to give. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I need what you have. I need what you can provide. I need your union. The ambassador's mind reeled, but he couldn't seem to find the words to argue. His brain was stuck on the idea that he was being asked to provide something much more personal than he had ever anticipated. He was supposed to be the one who held all the answers, the one who could navigate through any political storm. But now, he was being asked to be something entirely different, something he hadn't been trained to be. No, he said, shaking his head, almost as if trying to convince himself as much as her. I can't. I won't. I'm here to help you, but I'm not. This isn't what I signed up for. She reached out again, her hand brushing his arm, the touch light but persistent. You are what I need, she said, her voice unwavering. I understand your reluctance, but it is a part of your nature to provide. You give, and you do not ask for anything in return. The words were like a slap in the face, making him feel exposed and vulnerable. He had never been in a situation where his own identity was questioned like this. He had always been the one in control, always the one calling the shots. But now, he felt like he was losing himself, falling into a space where he had no control, no answers. I'm not this, he muttered again, his voice breaking. I'm not here to, but the rest of his words were lost as she took another step closer, her eyes locked onto his, drawing him in. You are, she whispered. You just don't know it yet. The ambassador's heart thudded in his chest. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't think. All he could focus on was her presence, the overwhelming force of it, the pull that seemed to drag him toward her, whether he wanted to go or not. I'm just a diplomat, he said, his voice shaky. I'm just here to make peace. She smiled, her lips curving into something almost predatory. Peace, she repeated, as though tasting the word on her tongue. What if peace isn't what you need? What if peace is a lie? What if the truth lies in union? In connection? Her words hit him like a hammer. He felt a deep, unsettling shift inside him, like the ground had been pulled out from under him. He had spent his entire life seeking peace, negotiating treaties, trying to create harmony between species. But this was something different. This wasn't about peace. It was about something far more primal, far more instinctual. Something he wasn't ready for. "Please," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "Please don't make me do this." She tilted her head, her expression softening. "You don't have to do anything," she said, her voice like silk. "All you have to do is be. Be what you were made to be. Give what you were made to give." He took another step back, his mind struggling to keep up with the rapid chain of events. But there was no escape. No way out of this strange, alien situation. He was trapped in a maze of words, emotions, and confusion, and every step he took seemed to lead him further into the unknown. Her hand reached out again, her fingers grazing his arm. "Don't resist," she whispered. "You are what I need." The words sank deep into his chest, and he realized, with a terrifying clarity, that there was no way out of this. He had walked into this mess thinking he could save her, thinking that he could help. But now, it seemed, it was he who was in need of saving, and he wasn't sure if he would ever escape. The ambassador stood there, trapped in a whirlwind of confusion, fear, and an unspoken desire he could barely recognize, let alone understand. The alien girl, so close now, was an enigma. Everything about her, the way she spoke, the way she looked at him, even her touch, seemed to defy every rule of engagement he had been taught. Peace negotiations, treaties, intergalactic treaties, all of it seemed irrelevant now. All he could focus on was the overwhelming intensity of the situation. His mind raced as he struggled to regain control. His training told him that no matter how odd, how uncomfortable, he needed to stay calm. He was the ambassador, he was supposed to be in control. But everything in this moment, the girl's presence, her words, her touch, felt like it was slowly eroding his composure, piece by piece. "I can't," he muttered, shaking his head, trying to break free from her magnetic pull. This isn't what I came here for. This isn't why I'm here. I'm just here to help you. That's it." The alien girl stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his, and for a moment, he felt utterly powerless. "You are helping me," she whispered, her voice soft, seductive, and filled with a knowing that made his heart race. "By giving me what I need. You are the one who can provide. You have what I crave." His chest tightened as the words sunk in. His body was betraying him, his instincts fighting against the growing confusion. His mind screamed that this was wrong, that he had to stop it before things went too far, but his heart, and something deeper, more primal, felt drawn to her, to the force of her need. I'm just a man," he stammered, each word feeling like it was sinking deeper into a trap. "I'm not some creature here to be used. I came to help you, not this." She smiled softly, as though humoring him, her fingers tracing along his arm in a way that sent an unexpected jolt through him. "You are not just a man. You are everything I need. You don't have to say it, but your body knows. Your mind knows." She reached up, cupping his face with gentle hands. "You are the provider. You don't even need to understand." His pulse raced, and every cell in his body screamed to resist. But there was something about her touch, something about the way she spoke, that unraveled his will. His thoughts became fragmented as the world around him seemed to blur and fade, leaving only her. The way she stood there, impossibly close, her warmth radiating off her, made him feel both terrified and captivated. I'm not something to be claimed," he tried again, his voice growing quieter, less sure. But the words felt hollow, like a man trying to scream in the midst of an overwhelming storm. "You're not to be claimed," she murmured softly, brushing her lips against his ear. "You are to be shared. The connection you have, your strength, your warmth. I need it, more than anything." Her words were dripping with intent, heavy with a meaning he could not escape. The ambassador could feel the pit in his stomach grow. He had never been in a situation like this. His duty had always been to facilitate understanding, to foster peace between species. But there was no peace here. There was only a tangled web of desires, power, and unspoken things that he was ill-equipped to deal with. And then, there was the silence. The kind that pressed on him from all sides, filling the space with an oppressive, almost suffocating weight. She was watching him, waiting for him to understand what she wanted, what she had always wanted. There was no room for negotiation, no escape from the course of this strange, alien dance they were locked in. "I'm not the one to give you this," he muttered, barely audible, his throat tight. "I'm not here for your, whatever it is you need. I'm just a diplomat. A messenger." She laughed softly, her hand trailing down his chest with slow precision. "You are not a messenger. You are the one who provides. The one who sustains." Her fingers lingered, pressing lightly against his chest, her touch igniting a fire he didn't want to feel. The ambassador was losing his grip on the situation. The overwhelming sense of inevitability was crashing over him. He had been in dangerous situations before, but nothing like this. This wasn't a threat from an enemy ship or hostile alien forces. No, this was far more dangerous, it was something far more subtle, more intimate, and far harder to escape. She stepped back just enough to look him in the eyes, her face still illuminated by that strange, almost eerie light. "You can fight it all you want," she said softly, her voice almost pitying. "But you can't fight what is natural. You are the one who was made to give. To share. I need you." He took a shaky breath, his body betraying him in ways he couldn't explain. The blood was rushing in his ears, and his thoughts seemed clouded. She was right. Part of him wanted to push her away, but another part, the human part, the animal part, felt something else. He didn't know how to explain it, but it was there, deep inside him, something primal and undeniable. It was that instinct that made it harder and harder to think clearly. "I can't do this," he whispered, though the words sounded less certain this time. "You don't have to," she said with a soft smile, her voice like a lullaby. "Just give. That's all I need. That's all I want. You have so much to offer." Every inch of him screamed to leave, to push her away, to put an end to the madness. But his body wasn't listening. He stood there, frozen, unsure of what to do next. His mind was racing, but the tension between them was almost unbearable, a force pulling him toward her and away from everything he knew. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely audible. "You don't get it. I don't. I don't even know who you are. What you want." Her smile deepened. "You don't need to know. You just need to feel. And I know you do. I know you understand more than you want to admit." He closed his eyes for a moment, his mind spinning, but when he opened them, he couldn't escape the reality of it. She was still there, still close, still asking for more. The ambassador was trapped, and the worst part was that part of him was beginning to understand what she wanted. Whether he liked it or not, the connection was starting to form, and it was a connection that he wasn't sure he would be able to break.